Today we are going to work on proportions. We're going to talk about what a proportion is and how to set one up and how to know when to set one up. You are going to need your yellow pages for your notes and a piece of paper for your work. Make sure you have a calculator and a pencil also. If you need to get these things, pause the video and get them. And then bring both your notes and your work to class with you tomorrow. In your yellow pages, please put down the definition of proportion problems. In proportion problems, you have two things that both change at the same rate. For example, you have dollars and gallons as your two things. So we might want to put dollars on the top and gallons on the bottom of the proportion. If you know the dollars and gallons in one situation, for example, 2 gallons cost $5.40, and you know either the dollars or the gallons of another situation, you're asked to find the missing one. So how much does 4 gallons cost? So we put 4 on the bottom, and then we could solve for our missing dollar value. That's what we are going to be doing today. The first problem we're going to do is called the West problem. We are going to put baseballs on top, and we are going to put the money on the bottom. The first sentence is our first proportion. 2 baseballs cost $5. So 2 baseballs cost $5. This is our first measure space. This is our first column. We're going to have that set up. The second column is the second sentence. How much will 7 baseball cost? So we put 7 in the baseball. We're going to leave the money blank because that's what we want to solve for. I would put this sentence in your yellow pages. The unit rate approach is characterized when students find the constant factor across or between the two measure spaces, meaning we're going to go from this number over to that number. Same thing on top. We're going to go that way. We are going to find out how many times we can multiply 2 times 7. So to do that, I'm going to kind of go backwards, and I'm going to do 7 divided by 2, and I know that that's 3.5. So 2 times 3.5 is going to give me the 7 baseballs, and if I do that on the top, I'm going to do that on the bottom. 5 times 3.5 gives me 17.5, or in this case, since we're dealing with money, $17.50. We can also do it using the scale factor approach. And again, I would put this in your yellow pages. The scale factor approach is characterized when students find the multiplicative relationship among the elements within the measure space, meaning we're going to go between these two, either going top to bottom or bottom to top. So we'll set up our proportion. 2 baseballs cost $5. How much will 7 baseballs cost? So again, I'm going to find the one I know. I want to go this way since this is the number that I have. So to figure it out, I go backwards and divide. 5 divided by 2 gives me 2.5. So I know that 2 times 2.5 is 5. So 7 times 2.5 gives me our 17.50. Let's try the Marissa problem, and we'll try it unit rate, which means we're going to work top to bottom or bottom to top. Marissa bought a pound of wheat flour, or half a pound of wheat flour, so I'm going to put the flour on top, and she paid 75 So I'm going to put the money on the bottom. How many pounds could she buy for $6? So now I have $6 right there. This time I'm going to use unit rate. So I'm going to try and find out how many 75 cents goes into a half. And if I do 75 hundredths divided by half, I come up with 2/3 is what I come up with. It's 6/10 repeating. So I know that I would be multiplying by 2/3. And I'm going to use a fraction because it's easier over here. I'm going to multiply by 2/3. So 6/1 times 2/3. I'm going to simplify it, and I get 4/1, so I know I can buy 4 pounds of wheat flour. Because that came out to be a fraction, that's not always the best way to do it, so we might want to do it instead doing the scale factor where we go between the two measure spaces. So a half a pound of wheat flour is 75 cents. How much could she buy for $6? So I'm going to take 6 divided by 75 cents, and I find out that that is equal to 8. So I know that 75 cents times 8 gives me my 6. So I'm going to do it this way. Multiply by 8 times a half gives me 4 pounds of wheat flour. That way works better because it's a whole number versus a fraction. Let's do one and we can decide which way we want to go. You don't need the boxes. You can just set up a proportion that looks like that. I can buy 6 baseballs for $20. And if you want to put abbreviations off to the side so you know where you put the baseballs and where you put the money, that's fine. How much will 18 baseballs cost? Just by looking at it, I notice that I know 6 times 3 gives me 18. So if I do the same thing on the bottom, 20 times 3, my answer is $60. To me, that way worked better than the other. You don't have to do both. You pick one that works. Let's do another practice problem. Back to buying baseballs. I can buy 6 baseballs for $18. Again, I have my baseballs on top, my money on the bottom. How much will 11 baseballs cost? Again, I look and I notice this does not come out evenly. You cannot multiply 6 by a nice number to get 11, so I'm not going to go that way. But I like this way. 6 times 3 gives me 18. I do it over here. 11 times 3, 11 baseballs is going to cost me $33. You can do it either the unit rate or the scale factor, doesn't matter. Here are your 6 questions that you're going to answer in the quiz following this video. Pause the video or stop the video and work out these 6 problems, and then start the quiz and match up your answers. We will talk about these 6 problems tomorrow in class.